Welcome, everyone, whether you're in Reading or somewhere else. I myself am in Boulder, Colorado right now, but I am headed back to Reading in less than a week. So I'm really excited to be back in my hometown again for a bit. So we are actually halfway through this series. The first few weeks we focused on mindfulness, and in these next 3 sessions, I decided to kind of shift gears and move more into compassion. Compassion is one of my favorite spaces in which to live and study and teach. I think of all the contemplative tools in the toolbox, this is the one that feels like one of the safest and most sustainable ways into cultivating just an inner knowing of our inner worlds. So insight, getting to know ourselves a little bit better, and especially if we're on some sort of healing or personal growth path, this is one of the tools that I think no matter what can support us, even amidst other practices and goings on. So I'm really excited to shift gears into compassion. Just a couple of notes for those who might be joining for the first time. First of all, welcome. I'm really glad that you are here and with us in this space. Please just make yourself comfortable, whether that is seated or lying down or standing or kind of anything in between. In terms of choosing a posture for these practices, which will last anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, more like 15, I want you to feel comfortable. The more that we can be at ease with ourselves and in a space of comfort in our bodies, the more that we can drop into the practice itself when it comes to a practice like loving kindness or compassion. This is not the kind of meditation where we want to be like sitting and kind of forcing us to withstand any sort of physical pain, for example, when there's a possibility to actually just make an adjustment. So you have full permission to do what you need to do to make your body comfortable and make it feel welcome in this practice. You're also welcome to open or close your eyes. I tend to close mine in practice, but you can do what feels right for you. You can also just try different things in different weeks. So full permission for that. So without further ado, I will talk just for a few more minutes about our practice for today. I'm choosing a practice that is in the space of compassion, but is more classically known as a loving kindness practice. So being loving or kind towards ourselves is definitely an element of compassion or self-compassion. And we're going to be using statements or sort of affirmations or wishes to not only move into a space of compassion and loving kindness, but to also give our minds some content to sort of ground on and center on, to calm the mind at the same time. And this is why I love this practice as a transition from our 3 weeks of mindfulness into moving more into classical compassion practices. It's a mindfulness practice in that we're going to be resting the focus, the awareness of our minds on the statements themselves. We're going to get into what I hope will be a pretty soothing rhythm. And the object of focus, instead of it being our breath like it was in the first week, or the visualization of the mountain like it was last week, it's going to be the statements themselves. And this is a really nice practice to do if you find that your mind just feels really busy, right? When we're in that space of busy mind, we typically want content. Like the mind just wants to consume things. It's just hungry for distraction or things to just kind of munch on. So this gives it that, but in a much more grounding way. And then the other part of it is that the statements we'll be using are statements of loving kindness. And we'll be using statements that start with may I. So we're going to be cultivating the wishes to bring into form, to manifest in our lives, the qualities that we really long to embody or feel. And what I love about the structure of the statements, like saying, may I be happy or may I be well, et cetera, et cetera. The structure of that wording, like the grammar of it, it kind of opens up the space in the psyche to receive those things that we want and need. So it's different, right? Even if you kind of say in your mind now, I am happy, I am peaceful, I am well. It almost feels like a way of trying to just use positive thoughts to maybe squash out some of the fears or doubts we have underneath the surface in the unconscious. But the may I opens things up. It's expressing a wish, it's expressing a possibility, an opportunity. So it actually is creating the space to be receptive for the things to come in. So this is a subtle difference, but it's one that I always like to attend to. I will be guiding us through the statements today, just for simplicity's sake, like we'll be using all the same statements. And when you do this practice on your own, you are welcome to use statements that feel right for you. So if, for example, health is something that you're wanting to bring into your life, you could craft a statement as, may I be healthy, may I be well. Or if you feel there's a sense of scarcity in your life, like that sort of contraction and fear around not having enough to live the way you feel like you need to live, it could be a statement like, may I receive everything I need to feel safe and secure and at ease. So there's room to play with these, but for today, we'll all be going with just some of the really simple statements that loving kindness can support us with. So I think that's it. We'll get to practicing. As I mentioned, this will be between 12 and 15 minutes. So just start to get comfortable, and we will start and end the practice with a bell. So allowing yourself to settle into your breathing body. And by that, I just mean gently closing the eyes, if that feels good for you, letting the eyelids just kind of rest, and settling into a posture that feels comfortable, just showing the body that it's welcome in this practice. It's a part of the practice as well. We're not just working with our minds, we're working with our whole selves. You might start to notice, to sense and feel those contact points between yourself and the surface that's supporting you, where the earth kind of rises up to meet you through whatever surface that you're seated or lying upon. You might notice if there's any points of tension in the physical body that don't need to be tense. Sometimes things just contract because they're used to it. Oftentimes it's somewhere around the neck or shoulders, perhaps the jaw, the tongue. Sometimes that space between the eyebrows. Without over-efforting, you might just invite some softness, like almost a melting in those spaces that are maybe holding on where they don't need to be in this moment. And then we'll gently direct our attention towards our breath, the rise of the inhale and the falling away of the exhale. Without needing to change or fix anything. There's no need to perform here, just settling into the rhythm of your breathing as it is. Being with yourself in this moment just as you are. And just starting to sense the sort of sacredness of that, the intimacy with your experience in this moment. If it feels good, if you feel like you need to ground your mind even a bit more, you can also just take a few breaths that have intentionally deeper inhales through the nose and then exhaling through the mouth, even with a sigh if that feels good. And then preparing for our practice of loving kindness affirmations for today. You might just sense that area around the chest, the area of your heart. Just connecting with any sense of warmth or tenderness you might feel in that space. And if you don't, that's okay too. That's completely normal. But we're just gently placing our awareness there to kind of remind ourselves of the heart's longings, and the role it plays in our lives. And with that, I invite you to repeat each of these statements in your own mind, or even out loud or at a whisper, whatever feels right for you. You can repeat to yourself, either in your mind or aloud after me. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. We'll go through the round again. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. Continuing with these same statements. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. So these loving kindness affirmations for today. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. So I invite you to work with this cycle of 4 affirmations or wishes for loving kindness for yourself. If one of them really doesn't feel right for you, of course, letting it go, that's completely a choice, or you might substitute something else. But the words that I'm offering are happy, safe, and well, and then live in peace. So I invite you to continue at your own pace, and I'll continue to just coach and prompt a bit. And I'll come in every couple of minutes and restate the statements in case you feel a little lost or your mind has kind of jumped on a thought train somewhere. But for now, just allowing yourself and your mind to find comfort and deepen into the rhythm of these wishes for loving kindness for yourself. Allowing the words themselves, the thoughts, if you're just repeating them silently, to be a soothing balm, like a medicine for any discomfort, dis-ease, a sense of fear or challenge that you might be experiencing. Just continuing with trust, with a sort of confidence to repeat these in your own mind, in your own heart. Really with a sense of courage and bravery, just setting the tone for your body, mind, and being kind to yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. If at any point the mind wanders or thoughts come in, that's okay. That's a typical thing for a mind to do. But then just kind of applauding yourself, giving yourself a gold star for noticing the wandering, and then coming back to the statements, to our object of focus, loving kindness toward ourselves. If it helps, you might place the palm of one hand at heart center just to feel that touch of warmth, the actual warmth of loving kindness at heart center. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. Taking solace, taking refuge in the soothing repetition of these affirmations. And if you start to run on autopilot a bit, which is possible, also can happen, no need to judge yourself or criticize, but just noticing if that's happening and then resetting your attention, deepening your commitment to the practice just for a few more minutes. Perhaps softening, opening yourself up a little bit more to the deep power and wisdom of what the statements, the affirmations have to offer, allowing them to really just percolate through your system, to seep into every single cell of your body. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. If any part of this practice has felt challenging, particularly dropping into a space of offering genuine loving kindness toward yourself. Also, I just want to name that that's okay too. That's your experience. Sometimes, especially if this is different from how we typically operate in our minds, it can feel a bit awkward or challenging, and that's okay. Just allowing yourself to stay with it as best you can for about 1 more minute. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be well. May I live in peace. And just finishing whatever round you're on and perhaps doing one more full round. Noticing if there's any sense of rushing to get somewhere after I said that, or rushing to get to the end. Just letting yourself come around slowly and with ease. And then gently softening your focus as you start to feel complete, or as complete as you can in this moment with this practice. And just allowing yourself to settle back into your breathing body, becoming aware of any shifts you might feel energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally. Becoming aware now of the contours of your physical body, feeling that surface that's supporting you once again. And perhaps the soundscape in or outside the room you're in, the temperature of the room itself. And then at the sound of the bell, coming back to our shared space. So taking your time, just slowly, slowly, gently, gently to come back. I know it can feel jarring to come back and be like, okay, what questions do you have? But we do have some time now. If you have questions or reflections, you're welcome to type them in the chat or unmute. And I do want to say, as you get ready with your questions or reflections, if you take this practice into your practice space and do it outside this class, which I really hope you do, it can just be so helpful, like can really shift even a few minutes of it. Really choose statements and words that feel really good to you. Like, it might take some time. It's like trying on different clothes, like what actually feels good and feels like it fits me right now. But I invite you to do that. And for example, even when I was saying the statements, the 4 statements I introduced today, I could feel a part of me, call it my intuition or inner self or wise self, wanting to change that last statement from may I live in peace to may I live with ease, because there's something about that word or that quality that something in me is like, no, I need ease right now. Like, I want ease. So it's that sort of thing. It can be subtle, but yeah, I invite you to do that for yourself. So meditation can mean a lot of different things. That's why, like, putting any one definition on it, I think, is kind of not useless, but it depends on the tradition, the lineage, the context, etc. But I think what you're explaining to me, it reminds me of what like athletes or musicians or creatives that I work with often say, which is, it sounds like you're getting into like a flow state. Like, your mind it's focusing and it's in its own space. If any of you have ever been in an activity where it's like, it's that thing you're doing where you're so engrossed in it in a positive way, you forget that you have to go to the bathroom. That's how someone explained it to me once. It's like, oh man, suddenly I have to go. But so yes, your brain is getting into what sounds like a flow-like state. And in terms of training the mind to focus its attention on things, it's probably not doing that because it's happening organically, which is a great thing. But to be able to actually sort of do training like we have been in these classes, it's a different practice.
Might our statements reflect need, want, or desire? How to best use those statements effectively?
Yeah, I think, might our statements reflect need or want or desire? So what I'm reading between the lines a little bit in that statement. And so this person, please correct me if I'm wrong. But what comes to mind for me is that question of like, is it okay to like want or desire things in a meditation practice? And for these purposes, yes, especially when it's directed in a loving kindness sort of way. So I don't want to shame myself for wanting more ease in my life. I don't want to shame myself for wanting to be happy or wanting to feel safe or healthy or well. So it's these kinds of things that we're going for in the loving kindness practice. And the energetic signature of it, I feel like, is different when we say the may I statements. It's not that sort of contracted, clingy sort of energy of like, oh, I need more ease, like I need more happiness. It's like, may I? So may this be a possibility? It's more spacious. It's less clingy, if that makes sense.